Hi, it's Liz here, CEO and founder of Worth It. I'm here to tell you about our brand new programme, the Staff Wellbeing Toolkit. There's a big issue in schools at the moment. You probably know what it is, teacher wellbeing. Although we have had a massive increase in mental health issues with children and young people, this is having a knock-on effect to an already strained workforce. And actually, there is a huge issue with teacher stress, burnout and mental health issues and poor wellbeing in the UK. According to the UK's Health and Safety Executive, teaching staff and education professionals report the highest rates of work-related stress, depression and anxiety in Britain. This is in comparison to all other professions. So if we don't do something quickly to support staff wellbeing, not only will it have a knock-on effect to pupils' mental health and wellbeing, it will also cause problems with retention, recruitment and staff sickness absence. Many of you will already be aware of the 8 principles to promoting whole school approach to mental health and wellbeing developed by Public Health England, and these 8 areas form the Senior Mental Health Lead Learning Outcomes, which you may or may not already be aware of depending if you've done your Senior Mental Health Lead training course already. But one of the key areas is developing staff wellbeing in order to support that of their students, and this goes beyond just providing information and signposting, and what you actually really need to be able to do that is practical know-how, tools and resources, and that's where we come in. As an organisational positive psychologist that specialises in wellbeing and used to teach a wellbeing module at master's level, I decided to put a toolkit together to give you all the resources and online learning to help you develop a sustainable and embedded approach to developing staff wellbeing. So the aims of our toolkit are for you to access and utilise tools, strategies and resources to support your own mental health as a wellbeing leader and that of your colleagues and staff team. Identify and use tools, strategies and resources to confidently engage staff and help promote them to support their mental health and wellbeing. Give you loads of simple evidence-based strategies and exercises, and actually the confidence and know-how, understanding what is the theory behind these and why do they actually work, so that you can then use them effectively and know which tools will fit certain situations more effectively because you're actually understanding the theory and evidence behind them based on workplace wellbeing, occupational psychology theory and positive psychology research, and also increase your ability to signpost and promote awareness resources that support staff. So you might already be doing a little bit of this but feeling quite ill-equipped to actually know, is it working? Are these the right things that we should be doing? Effective resources to help you do that. There is one big caveat with staff wellbeing. It is not a quick fix. You might have already tried to do some quick fixes. You might already have shout out boards and pigeonhole treats and all of those lovely things that do help improve staff wellbeing. But without this deeper understanding of the theory behind what really improves wellbeing for staff, it's going to sometimes feel a bit tokenistic or piecemeal or get a bit stale for staff. So what we want to do with our toolkit is teach you and show you a whole range of evidence-based approaches to improving staff wellbeing and help you plan and identify the ones that are going to really be a quick win for your school so that you can then start to embed them strategically over time. So how do we actually improve teacher wellbeing? What are the key factors that contribute to teachers having good wellbeing? So the demands of the job, such as workload or work environment, you ask any teacher what's going to help improve your wellbeing and they will say workload, but it isn't just about the physical workload. Workload also means how they feel about their workload, how they think about their workload, and how they emotionally experience the emotional demands of work. So there is a lot more to workload than just actual practical tasks. How much control they have, i.e. a person's own influence over how their job is carried out. So many of our approaches and interventions are based on getting staff to think about how to improve their own workload and their own tasks and their own way of working so that they can have more autonomy and control over their work, which is essential for wellbeing. The level of support they receive from colleagues, their line manager and the organisation itself. So how they perceive that support as well as how they actually experience line manager and peer-to-peer support. The quality of relationships with colleagues and students to reduce conflict and deal with unacceptable behaviour. I would go one step further than that and actually say, can we have quality positive relationships as a foundation for wellbeing? And how can we help do that as a leader of wellbeing, support teachers to have quality interactions with each other and with students, and actually reduce the knock-on effect of some of these behaviour issues to their workload. When they have role clarity and understand their job, the job content and expectations, that is really essential for wellbeing. In our toolkit, we talk about role clarity and role conflict as ways of helping understand and think about the things that contribute to wellbeing, and how change management is perceived in an organisation. So that's why a toolkit approach rather than a training day approach can be more effective, because it can be implemented slowly over time and embed change over time, a little bit at a time, which is much more likely to make it be sustainable and reduce the impact of change as a stressor. One of the most helpful models that we have in our Staff Wellbeing Toolkit, we use several evidence-based models, but this is the JDR model, the Job Demand Resources model. And what this model tells us is that we need to reduce work or non-work related stressors and increase wellbeing strategies across personal, non-work or work domains in order for someone to have good wellbeing. So our toolkit not only focuses on practical resources that help reduce workplace stress, it actually teaches you evidence-based wellbeing strategies that help improve personal, work and non-work wellbeing resources for individuals and as a whole school community. All the tools in our toolkit are based on the search pathways to wellbeing. We use this across all of our programs. We use it with children and young people, and now we've applied it in the toolkit to use for staff. So we've provided you 20 different tools across these 6 pathway areas. This framework comes from a meta-study of over 10 years of academic research explicitly looking at what develops wellbeing in schools, and it has now moved on to look at what improves teacher wellbeing in schools and using this framework model. So we need emotional management, the ability to control, express and understand our emotions and deal with the emotional demands of working in the teaching profession. We need to have attention and awareness and use mindfulness-based approaches in order to be able to focus on the present moment and help control stress and worry. We need positive relationships as a foundation for all the other wellbeing approaches. The ability to reduce stress, cope and be resilient are a massive part of our wellbeing toolkit and essential for schools to understand how to reduce stress as well as improve wellbeing. How to set wellbeing habits and goals that facilitate and maintain wellbeing for individuals and staff, and a strengths-based approach where we look at we look at a common language of what is good about all human beings and how can we develop a strengths lens and language so that we can use those strengths more. Now, I know what you're thinking. Now you've listened to me talk about a toolkit. That sounds like a lot of effort. I have to learn a lot of stuff. Can't we just do an inset day and get you to come in and do that for us? Of course you can. And we'll happily do that for you. And I have done that before in lots of schools over several years. But I would say it is not an effective use of your school budget. It is not a good use of time. So I would say, sorry, no. I don't think a staff wellbeing inset day is a effective way of developing staff wellbeing. It is a really pleasant experience. They can have a lovely day, they can learn a few wellbeing strategies, and they may or may not then use these themselves sustainably over time. So it's a bit of a one and done approach without that sustainable systematic change that you really need to do to improve wellbeing. And in order to do that, you need ownership and understanding of what it is that really needs to work in your school to improve staff wellbeing. When you develop your staff approach to wellbeing, it really needs to help support people to take personal responsibility for their own wellbeing. Sometimes in schools it can feel a bit like the wellbeing has to be done to the staff and they are passive recipients rather than taking an active role in maintaining and looking after their own wellbeing. So the tools in our toolkit help you use a coaching style approach and coaching based conversations that help you encourage your colleagues to take personal responsibility for their own wellbeing and learn a range of different wellbeing strategies that they can figure out what suits them and then apply it over time. It takes time to change things. So just doing a one-off staff wellbeing inset day will probably not have the sustainable results over time. It will then dip gradually as people just go back to their normal routines, their normal habits, and their normal way of dealing with things. So in order to really change things, it is better to pick 1 or 2 staff wellbeing approaches that suit your school community and your staff team's needs, and embed them gradually over an academic year and layer upon layer over time. The more we co-produce and involve our colleagues with the staff wellbeing interventions and the staff wellbeing approach, the more effective it is in the long term, because you've got their buy-in from day one. They have a voice in deciding what those interventions look like and how they want it to be and what needs to improve to support their wellbeing or reduce their stress. So the more you involve them and ask them, the more effective it will be. So we have put tools and resources in the toolkit so that you can actually make your own staff wellbeing inset based on some of our coaching tools that asks them what do they need to improve their own wellbeing, and that helps them develop autonomy and accountability, relatedness and competence, which are all essential for their mental health and wellbeing. Rather than thinking about staff wellbeing as one thing we do once a year, we have a lovely day and get everyone together, we need to think about how do we embed our wellbeing habits over time, drawn from our search framework pathway and our understanding of what wellbeing really is, which you will learn in the Wellbeing Toolkit. So here are some suggestions for developing wellbeing habits and how staff wellbeing can be built up over time into your academic year. So annually you might have a staff wellbeing day. Termly you might do goal setting around personal or professional or intrinsically motivating wellbeing goals that are related to wellbeing. Then you might develop a strengths-based approach using our strengths tools in the Wellbeing Toolkit so that you can start giving strengths-based feedback, which helps with praise and recognition, reward, and helps reduce stress, as well as improving resilience and wellbeing. Then you might do checking in with people's personal values to help them realise what's important for their wellbeing. Some of the work that you've done around incorporating staff voice into developing wellbeing interventions is going to develop daily positive interactions and positive relationships, which just kind of facilitate all the other wellbeing interventions. We encourage the explicit experience of positive emotions. How are the staff experiencing joy or pride or amusement or inspiration in their work? So how can they experience that on an hourly basis and really feel that positive effect from those positive emotions? And what we really want you to do is help develop a culture of meaning and purpose and get staff tapped back into their meaning as to why they want to teach and why they want to help children and young people. What is the purpose behind their profession? So that is just an overview of some of the stuff within the Staff Wellbeing Toolkit. And if you're interested in finding out more, please visit the programme page by clicking the button on the page below or in the box below.